All right. I'll start, and maybe Rafa, you can do a few questions in between. But I think we're just going to do a quick kind of panel on how these guys got into Noir, what they built, NoirHack, what's next, like, and how maybe in like a few months or next year these guys will be here, kind of up on the main stage, because some amazing things were built in NoirHack. So yeah, I'd love to kind of if you just introduce yourself and kind of say what you built at NoirHack, and I guess what kind of got you into applying and building with Noir.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. My name is Stratos, and I built open bands during the journey of NoirHack, which is a platform for verified company reviews. So essentially, I didn't think about it for Play Store. There's no verification happening about the reviews, so there are a bunch of fake reviews, which distorts the perception of the company's reputation. And yeah, we built a platform for verified reviews. And the experience was very amazing. It was the first hackathon that I participated in, and everything was straightforward. And I encourage everyone, even without a lot of technical backgrounds, to just start your journey and to see where it's going. And already was an amazing experience so far.
Awesome, thanks.
Thomas from Team Rebellion. The project is about opinion polling. So I did the presentation 1 hour ago approximately, and if you have seen it, you may remember we are basically reinventing from the ground how putting preferences, how surveys, opinion polls get done by verifying the eligibility with Ziki passport, for instance. And anonymizing the set of voters while making sure they are actually part of the set of interest. How did we get involved? Well, a few months ago we got selected for building one of the bridges for Aztec with other EVM chains, and the bridge has both public and private mode, so we were already quite involved with the Aztec ecosystem, and the NoirHack event seemed like a great opportunity to explore other ideas, the same ecosystem, and this is how the Rebellion idea came up, like by coincidence, while studying deeper the technology. But yeah, we were kind of already involved with Noir and Aztec. We just didn't. I would say this was a nice experience for us to experiment a little bit, not on the infra side of things, which was kind of our background, but more on the user-facing outside.
My name is Chip, and we are building Warptoad. We built Warptoad for NoirCon, and Warptoad is a cross-chain privacy protocol where we can basically inherit the privacy set of Aztec and help all of Warptoad across layers, and it creates a interoperable privacy protocol, basically.
Hello, I'm Octavio. As Thomas, I just showed my project some minutes ago. It's Revalidate. It's a platform that brings tools to researchers to prove their scientific data is untampered with in an unimpeachable manner. We got involved because I have a friend who works in Aztec, and he originally invited me to another activity, which was some course of the mathematical fundaments of zero knowledge. And it was pretty interesting, and I got this idea while learning that, like, how a blunt circuit works. And when I knew hackathon was happening, I thought it was a good moment to put it into practice. And I also must say that working with Noir has been a blast, because it simultaneously allowed us to get good quality circuits and to think about them high level, which makes it easier to get safer and more ready for production product.
Hi, my name is Fabian. We present CK Drop, which is for token airdrops, and allows a user that is in a specific region without revealing his location. It's like for pre-sales also. The experience developing in Noir, it was amazing. Like, diving into circuits and learning those circuits, and it allowed me to like not only experiments, also to explore new ideas with CK and their capabilities.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to ask you guys some questions. First, I think it'd be nice to hear from OpenBand and Stratos as to what gave you this idea, what made reviews and this kind of decentralized glass door interesting during the hackathon. And I'm also curious what's next for you. I know you mentioned that you were talking to investors that were part of NoirHack and they're at the demo day. I'm curious, like, what's fresh on your mind, where you're headed through just preliminary.
Yeah. So the initial idea how it started is I got into ZK during DEF CON last year, learned more about it, and then had this initial idea of building a whistleblowing platform, basically, which is where the privacy primitives are pretty much the same, or not the same, but very similar as it is with Glassdoor right now. So the idea was to prove the company affiliation through the email address of the employee, and then basically disclose whatever happens at the company without revealing the identity. And I tried building this with Circom at the time, which was really a pain because it didn't quite work with client-side proving and everything. So it was more like a learning experience from that side. And then I spoke with Shreyas from ZK Email and also with Salim from Aztec, and both recommended to kind of use the similar practices that we use and apply it to actual real use case application like Glassdoor. And this is how the idea came to life basically. And what's next is we're really just in the ideation phase and seeing where we can bring it next. So maybe, we are looking for professional mentorship from people that can advise on the strategy and where the whole journey ends up. So accelerator projects would be very interesting and very good forward. And then also think about how we can expand the use cases, maybe also integrate private chat rooms for employees. Or I saw today someone posted on Telegram, okay, are we competing with Glassdoor or Indeed, or are we actually also releasing an SDK so we can push more data into their platforms, which is also a valid and very interesting idea. And there are many possibilities, and so these are some of them.
Awesome, thank you for sharing. For Revelio, you had mentioned that you worked more on this infrastructure and that this was an opportunity for you to get more on the application side, building at the UI and UX layer. What about NoirHack made that easier, or made that cooler, and made you want to pursue it?
Yeah, so I would say that like most of our team has been around this space for many years. I remember many user-facing applications we were heard back in the days. Many of the ideas we see today are not really new ideas, but maybe the technology was not there yet. So now, in our specific case, I think the trigger for the specific revenue idea was, on the one hand, the ZK passport being clearly proposed as something that could be integrated, which was kind of the enabler for the initial idea, while now we're trying kind of to expand it and make it broader in scope. And the other one was like this kind of trend in the interoperability space where we come from, of going in circles in a sense, and not really finding new solutions, while admitting that, yeah, sure, we could have more security, we could have more standardization, but currently there is no desire from users or the community to really converge. So this kind of disillusionment, in a sense, was motivating us to look more at those few user-facing applications, even outside of crypto, that were getting traction. And inevitably, we started looking into body market and the stories around body market. And this is how we found these articles on mainstream newspapers mentioning the story of this French entrepreneur who had done opinion polling independently and who made a lot of money on the body market US elections accordingly. And we tried to understand, why this was the case, and anonymity came up. So this was a perfect fit, and we said, okay, if we can do opinion polling anonymously, and we can use maybe ZK Passport to do it, it just makes sense. And we started brainstorming a lot on these old ideas on e-voting. And personally, I've been very vocal in the past, also on Twitter, against e-voting on blockchain. Because I think it's mostly like a regulatory issue more than anything, and educational issue. And I don't think the technology is ready or battle tested enough to be used for like elections or something so important. But opinion polling currently is really bad. So improving 10x a system which is terrible is much easier than improving a system which is extremely regulated and that kind of works most of the times. So yeah, that's how it came up.
Yep. Awesome. And for Jim, you were saying off stage a little while ago that through some of the feedback you got and maybe office hours or the check-ins that you learned some stuff maybe presentation-wise. Curious if maybe you could make it feel really good and say some of the stuff you learned.
Yeah, I really liked NoirHack. We got a lot of mentorship. Like every week we could just hop on a call or even text Ravi directly asking for how to present, how to work with our idea. So if you ever want to do a hackathon, you should do NoirHack. Talk to Ravi, he's a good guy. And also, I really like the model of NoirHack. When you win, you can also get mentorship, follow up friends, Web3 privacy. Now it's also kind of inspired by that model. I think it's a good idea. It will give more value to the ecosystem if hackers are like incentivized to continue working at speed.
Maybe you could share also a little bit of what's next for you guys at Portum.
Yeah, so we're currently going to receive a grant at mentorship from Aztec, and we're going to continue building. So what we built for the hackathon was really simple. It could only bridge between two chains, and we're going to extend that functionality, of course, to support more rollups and more types of tokens and more generalized, so other people can integrate their own protocol with our infrastructure as well. Specifically the GigaBridge and our Gigaroot. So anyone can register their own contract with our GigaBridge and then bridge messages across privately and make their own privacy protocol on top. And we're gonna think about getting around the 1 week withdrawal time of optimistic rollers. So we're thinking about tachyon Gigaroot, which is kind of like predicting what the future route will be. So it's just a quick explanation of what is a gigaroot. The gigaroot is it's a root of a tree that contains every vertical tree we set across all the layer 2s. So we have like a Merkle tree for each layer 2 that contains our deposits. And then we make it into one big tree. And we're going to make a protocol to basically predict in the future what the tree will be, so we can get it to one withdrawal time.
I think thank you for sharing. For Octavio and Reality, I think you guys actually had one of the most interesting stories, especially given your background coming from science and research. I would love to
have you share maybe a little bit more about your background and this like origin of reality?
Yes, I work in the space of open source science, which is also surprisingly going strong currently, both decentralized science and open source science, which involves, in my case, stuff such as open and shareable data sets, for example, data standards, but also I belong to a group which is called Rigosh, which develops open source scientific hardware, which might sound like an eccentricity, but actually most complex equipment in labs is bespokely made. For example, at CERN have been champions of open source hardware, and that's because if you read about the history of physics, for example, most discoverers of complex physical constants had to make their own equipment, and that's still true. And for them, it's more convenient to open source it and get it reviewed by many people, as it happens also with crypto standards. So we constantly, it's a space that's also young in a sense, because governments and universities were antagonists to it until recently, and they're still important actors. Like, for example, some editorial houses who are very privileged, not, they are not in the same side of the good of most actors involved, but it seems to be an impulse now. There's momentum in the space. Basically, as I work in a consultancy firm, we work on a lot of small problems, and we constantly switch the context. So when I learned about this technology, I felt that, if you look at Revalidate, it doesn't use privacy in the same way it is used, for example, in their application, which is it's very clear. You need to do a movement which shouldn't be faked by somebody else, but you also don't want third parties to know about it, if not needed. In this, for example, in Revalidate, it's different because the thing that privacy really does is to ensure unlimited existence for a short period. So the usage is different. But it just occurred to me that many of the needs in the space of research and publications could be either tackled, or even the solutions that exist could be vastly improved by this technology.
Yeah, I think the idea of being able to use Noir for verifying this research is truly revolutionary. Yeah.
We've only got a few minutes left, so maybe we can end on a fun one. Like, everyone here has been using Noir, and the whole room, I think, is here for Noir. So, what's your favourite feature of Noir, and what needs to be fixed before the next NoirCon to make you come back?
Yeah, typically to explain the favorite feature, there are so many things that are nice about Noir. And I also have to say that I don't have a very strong technical background, but I would advise anyone that wants to learn more to just get started. And in my case, I quit my job last year in October, and had no idea where to go. And start my journey. Sorry, what was the other question? What's missing? I can't really comment on this one. Only good things to say.
So something maybe that theoretically you would expect was obvious, but apparently, given the benchmark talk we heard earlier, is not, is that Noir just works on browsers and mobile, which I think is a very important proposition to generate growth locally. And also, second best feature is the fact that, so please, for the first one, my hope is that the team will keep supporting those platforms as first-class citizens, giving them the importance they deserve. And second one is that it's not scary. I mean, even the brand identity, it's cute in a sense, which is very important if you compare it with Circom or alternatives. So that's key to make it appealing for a very broad base of developers.
Yeah, for me, the best thing about Noir is that I can actually use it. I tried to use Sercom a couple of years ago, and it didn't work. One thing to improve it would be the documentation of the Barrett-Bird backend. That's still a to-do for all of them.
For me, I would say I would start with need first, which is logical given the time it's been around. But it's a Rust-like language, which means it's high level. When you code in Rust or Haskell or those kind of high level languages from which you expect to attain a performance, which you need here, right, for different reasons. You don't expect Noir programs to be fast, but since the computing power is very expensive on the networks, you need it to be as efficient as possible. And when you code in Rust or Haskell, you typically have documentation about the compiler at hand, and you know about all the optimizations it applies. When you want a critical piece of your code to work well, you will think like, oh, this is Haskell, I need tape recursion for this, for example. And you know you can use infinite recursion and not be afraid of blowing the CPU off. With Noir, I didn't find that easy, which is totally to be expected. It's a new language, but having information about the high-level optimizations that are applied to your code and basically what's being written by the compiler will be pretty good. So that's my want. And as features, I want to highlight the macros, because when you create a product, if you code in Noir, you realize that you need to parameterize your types beforehand. For example, arrays have a fixed length, which is a need. It's logical, it's to be expected, it's zero knowledge circuits, that's how they work. But that implies you need to reparameterize a lot and create many versions of the same piece of code, for example, for different array lengths. And macros give you that in an easy way. So for us, they were like a lifesaver coding. So that's my favorite feature, which is not the most obvious one, but it's fairly valuable for me.
Okay, for me, I find it really interesting, the mobile side, and the optimization that is like taking to approve it, and the generation of the proof, which is like pretty fast. And my feature and to be improved is the way in which is delivered the proof, like the format to be proved in the verifier.zone, which I had some issues with that, but I was like working on that. It was, but no.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.